Hello. All right, got to get Amanda added in here. Let's see. I tell you what, I know Instagram changes this stuff. Just invited her. Okay. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Allie. Did I do this right? I haven't even set up a room before. My goodness.
Hey,
Hi, there we
how's it
go.
going?
Good. I'm just gonna fix my tripod here so I don't look like my face is cut off. There we go. Oh,
Hey, how's it going?
good. I feel like this conversation is so needed because today I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to Amanda at 3 about avoiding burnout and
Yeah,
becoming
that's
efficient.
right.
And here I'm like, I don't have like 10 notepads around me right now. And I'm like, I got to do this and I got to do that. So, woosah, big moment. So yeah, I'm excited to sit down and chat with you. So I know we'll let people tune in, um, but let's give like quick intros because I know not everybody who follows you knows me and vice versa. Hey
Yep,
Marissa, thanks for jumping on. So Amanda, you're amazing. So why don't you kick things off?
sure. And I feel like my screen, this happened last time. It was like so dark and it was really bothering me,
Oh.
but I think that it's probably not dark on your end. Is that right?
It's not, but you do
Okay.
have a window behind you, so that's gonna
Yeah, I put my
naturally
little
bring
light
it.
on, but I could, yeah, you're like the lighting. You're like, there's a window behind you. This
You're
isn't
fine. You're
good.
fine. You're fine. And
Uh,
Allie, I'll watch the comments for us too. I don't know if you can see
cool.
them, but
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm just like keeping it casual today. Just like please. So my name is it doesn't look dark. Okay, cool, thank you. My name is Dr. Amanda Chay. I'm a naturopathic physician. I own a clinic just literally up the street here from my house. I'm working from home today. I own a supplement company, Enliven Naturals. I also have an online coaching business, so I have a lot going on. But I kind of became obsessed with efficiency and time management back when I was in school after experiencing burnout and coming from a year of traveling and just being super, super relaxed and having to go back into school and being really hardcore and then really having to figure out how to maintain kind of the relaxation while also getting shit done. So, yes, that is why yeah, that's where I'm at. And I love helping. I see so many women, especially that come to me in clinic for burnout, stress, anxiety, insomnia, etc. And a lot of that comes down to like how they're managing their lifestyle and their stressors and their time. So I love talking about that, plus how to tell if you're in burnout, on the way to burnout, anxiety, etc.
yeah, I feel like you're just my go-to resource anytime anything is remotely wrong with me. Like Amanda probably knows. She probably
Yes.
knows what's up. So I'll just quickly introduce myself for
Yes.
those who don't know me. Hey, from Michigan, I'm Liz McVoy. I'm a video marketing consultant. So I've spent the past 10 years working in marketing and creative storytelling, web design, graphic design, pretty much anything in the creative arena. You name it, I've done it. But now I am running a video and design agency and education platform where we partner with primarily female service providers who are looking to elevate their brand and become the go-to expert in their industry. And to be really, really frank, like Instagram gives them headaches. They can't figure out what the heck to do with video. They're not showing up, or they know they need to, but they feel this pull and this opposition of like, hey, I know I need to be consistent, but I don't know what the heck I'm saying. And so they typically, as it relates to this conversation, find themselves working, creating content that's not moving the
Mm-hmm.
needle, launching digital courses and programs that may flop or not have the results they want because they are letting their business run their life instead of figuring out how the heck do you set up sustainable business systems? How do you market
Yes.
effectively? How can you actually, rather than like being afraid to embrace who you are, how can you infuse that into your content and recognize that that's just going to draw the right people to you, which in
Yeah.
turn means you're attracting clients that aren't going to burn you out. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Yes. And Liz, whoever is watching or watching the replay, Liz has helped me with, which I still am not good at actually like using the same story over and over. Gotta get better at that. But Liz helped me with like trying to map that out. And also like video advice. So it's been super helpful.
Thanks. So
Yeah.
I'd love to just cut right to it of,
Mm-hmm.
as business owners, and I know some people listening and catching the replay may have a small team, but largely I find most people that you and I work with are solopreneurs, or they are still in the phase of business where they're doing a lot of things themselves, and they're doing a lot of things in their families and in their lives.
Yeah.
I know for you help a lot of women who want to start a family.
Yes.
And I tend to work with a lot of women that they have a family now. They're trying to figure out, like, how do I run my
Yes.
business?
Yes.
So let's start with like, for you, have you seen be almost, like the visual of somebody's headed towards a cliff, like they're headed
Yeah.
towards burnout. What are some of those signs that people can be looking out for and
Yeah.
flagging down now before they hit
Cool.
that point?
Yes. So first thing is burnout usually starts with anxiety. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're starting to feel like you're exhausted throughout the day, but you go to bed, you can't get to sleep, or you get to sleep, or you're waking between 2 to 4 a.m., or you're waking up in the morning feeling anxious, or Sunday night before Monday morning you're feeling anxious. Like if you love your job, but you're like, oh, like my clients are starting to annoy me, or I have too much on my plate, all of those are signs that your cortisol is too high. And when you start getting more and more and more of that, eventually what happens, your cortisol crashes. And when your cortisol crashes, that's when you're actually in burnout. And that's when you experience fatigue, low motivation, like just feeling desperately like you need a holiday or a break, brain fog, you can't think. And that's when you really start downing yourself, and just you are really like, your body's just basically telling you need to stop. So.
Mm. We just had a comment pop up. Thanks for tuning in, Allie.
Yeah,
Catch the
thanks for
replay.
coming.
Okay, so brain fog, not being able to sleep.
Yeah.
I think I can speak to my experience in this. I've always been a high achiever. I'm driven. I figure out what I want to do. You usually can't convince me otherwise, though I can be swayed. So for somebody like me that is still in that phase of like, sometimes I feel like I can't slow down or things won't get done. So since you not only are a physician and you have a supplement company and you coach business owners and you're running like, I don't know, 4 businesses now, I lose track from the slopes. Like,
Yes.
what are some of those changes or pieces of advice that you would have to give, say me, for like, I'm a mom of 2, I am balancing a business and actively growing and scaling, and I've got a to-do list a mile long. What would you say from like a optimizing, let's maybe hone it down to, how do I better protect my energy so that when I do show up in each facet of my life, I'm okay?
Yeah, for sure. So number one is, if you are, and just, I know this with a lot of people, if you're feeling like you always need to be on the go, etc., if you stop and take time off and all you're doing is thinking about your business or thinking about your to-do list, then your cortisol levels are probably a little bit too high. So, and you're right, it is all about energy. And the biggest thing is scheduling your tasks based on your energy and not necessarily on their priority or their urgency. And we can talk a little bit more later about why that's so important. But I mean, sorry, let's go back to your question. I'm like, there's so much I could say about this. So
I know, sorry.
Start with this?
I'm like, give me your entire brain in like a 30-minute live.
Okay. So basically, especially because I have a lot of patients that are moms and like juggling businesses, etc. So for you, it's very important to make sure that you have time carved out for yourself that is not, that is like purely self-care. And I always, when I'm working with patients, like, okay, well, what is realistic for you? Because it has to be something that's actually attainable. Because if you set a goal, like, okay, I'm going to take 45 minutes off every day to like have this luxurious bath, but then you don't do it, then you're going to be like, oh, I didn't do it. And then you're going to get more frustrated and stressed out. So it's like, what for you is realistic? Like, can you schedule 60 minutes once a week just to do nothing, but like take care of yourself? And if yes, then do that. If you can do 10 or 20 minutes every day, then do that. It's just starting to restructure, starting to think about how you can outsource certain things. I know, and it again really depends on the person. Like, what is something, and same with business, like what is something that you like hate doing even around the house, that if someone could do it for you, take a huge weight off. For a lot of patients, that's having like cleaning. And I mean, you could pay someone to clean like $50 to clean your house once a month,
Yep.
right? And that's
Yep.
like that is a good investment for a lot of people to have that space for themselves. But in terms of protecting your energy, it's about figuring out for you, when is your energy the best? And for a lot of people, just based on our natural 24-hour cycle, your cortisol is highest in the morning. Cortisol gets us out of bed, gives us a lot of energy, gives us a lot of focus, motivation, and then it goes down in the afternoon. So we tend to have less energy in the afternoon, and that's natural. If you feel like you need to nap in the afternoon, then the cortisol is too low. That's not okay. And then at night, that's when it really drops. So we should really be putting a lot of our like tasks that require a lot of focus and high energy right early in the morning. But again, it kind of depends on, for you specifically, if that is the best thing.
And I
Because some
think
people
that's
that
the
are burnt
case.
out, their cortisol curve will be shifted. So it's working with balancing stress, but also figuring out, and I know we've talked about this before, it's like, okay, is it before exercise, after exercise, first thing in the morning, after you get like a couple things on your to-do list? Like, when are you personally the most motivated and energetic to get stuff done?
Yeah, and I've been, so for those listening, I chewed off Amanda's ear the other day. That sounds really bad. What's it? Talked off. Oh my gosh, chewed off.
You're fine. People literally always are sending me messages.
Right? Okay. So
It's perfect.
I was like, hey, I got to figure out how to do this because I've got young kids. They're up
Yeah.
early. They're going. I don't have the luxury of saying like, I am most focused in the morning, but I'm not in the season of life where I can carve out the time to like sit down, journal,
Yeah.
prioritize for the day, like have my coffee, curse word, so for me, I find that by the time I actually get in the groove of things, it's usually like 10:30, and then we get
Yeah.
close to lunch. And then sometimes like today, I haven't had lunch. It's just because today's been a crazy day. And I know
Yeah.
sometimes we're in seasons of life where that's unavoidable, but what I want to talk about too are like work systems that we can put in place. So for you, first thing you said, get your calendar in order. If you are most focused in the morning, like, is that the best time to take client calls, or what type of work should I be doing in the morning?
Yeah. So again, it also depends. Yeah. So I'm so personalized on everything, so it really depends. But I mean, you should be doing things that require a lot of focus and a lot of decision making. So that would be meetings where you have to make a lot of decisions. That would be like working with coaching clients where you're helping them kind of navigate things. That would be potentially like planning things out, like planning your month out, planning your week out, planning your day out. And then in the afternoon is when you could be doing things that are more like afternoon or late kind of morning you still have pretty good focus at that time, typically for most people. But it's not as quick decision making. So that's when you do things more like writing or organizing or just like things that are a little bit kind of easier to do.
Okay.
But
So maybe
again,
some admin tasks in the
totally.
afternoon.
Yeah. Late afternoon is admin, like organization, filing, like no one files anymore, but virtual filing. Yeah, early morning is decision making, and then kind of like late morning, early afternoon is when you're doing more things that just require like more sustained effort. Like I said, like writing. I always batch my content, so like recording all my videos, writing all my content at the same time, and like that's another thing is batching. So, but even with that, I mean, you have to kind of do it based on your schedule and also based a bit on your client's schedule. So as much as I'd love to just have my patients in the mornings all the time, that doesn't work for everyone. So I alternate it. So I do every second day it's in the morning, and then every second afternoon or every alternating it's in the afternoon. So.
Okay. So far we've got, just trying to keep track of this, we've got getting your schedule organized. That can help you where you build in. I loved what you said is, hey, it may not be feasible to have that 45-minute bath wind down night every time, but can you carve out an hour in your week where it's just self-care? So we've got that. We've got organizing your calendar to build that in, and also maybe stacking the tasks that generally like align the tasks that require more focus and decision making when you feel best focused. For a lot of people, that's typically mornings, though work with Amanda, that's not. And then in the afternoons, those are better for admin tasks.
Yes.
So as it pertains to marketing, I'd love to switch into this because notifications ping, you've got DMs that are filling up, you've got emails that need to be sent out. If you're like
Yes.
me, you've got like 3 podcast inquiries that you've been
Yeah.
meaning to get back to. And for
Yes.
whatever reason, I keep putting those things off because I feel almost buried under some things to do. So what would
Yeah.
be, if I've got like a zillion things, how do you navigate that without letting it feel
Yeah.
like it's going to stress you out and suck that energy?
Yeah. So you're going to see like a bit of my messy office, but so you can see there,
Yep.
I always have a little kind of whiteboard there where I write down tasks that need to be done for the week and tasks that need to be done for the month. And then for the day, I write down tasks on a sticky note. And I don't let it get bigger than a sticky note. So I make sure the tasks that I actually need to get done that day, I'll only have like 3 to 4 and I'll write them down, and those need to get done that day. And that makes it really achievable to actually do them. And then I have my list over there for the week, and then that I can refer to each morning and see, okay, is this something that I can write on my to-do list? And that's how, like, if you're doing things like you have all these inquiries for podcasts, etc., you can say, okay, is this something that I need to get done today, or can I get it done this week? And then you schedule it by day and week and month, instead of just like, this is my 20 million to-do list, because that gets really overwhelming. And when your to-do list is that long, it's really easy to say, yeah, I can't do any of that. So yeah.
So you mentioned batching content, and I feel like batching and repurposing are kind of things that are certainly in my wheelhouse. And like anybody, I don't ever execute to perfection. So I will have, like in March, I mapped out all of my social media headlines through this week, and now I'm getting to this week, and I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta do this again, right?
Yeah.
But when we talk about, I want to switch into, okay, so we figured out ways to set yourself up to avoid some of that burnout. Now let's switch into efficiency. So batching your content and repurposing content. We talk about a lot of those things in AMA, which is the marketing program that I run.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about content marketing this week, and how you can take one core message, one masterpiece of content, and repurpose that across the board.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time women will come to me and they'll say like, wow, I hate writing. I can't write. Like I sit down to stare and it's white screen of death.
Mm-hmm.
Or other people would pull out their teeth before they show up on video. So, you know, whatever level of comfort, a piece that I always start with is like, okay, where do you feel best? And this creative showing up. So blending the two, if you feel really creative and focused in the morning times, maybe in the beginning of the week when you don't have that to-do list stacked on top of you, it might be a good time to sit down and do a giant brain dump of content that you might want to email to your list that week, or if you have a lunch coming up. And then what I would love people to do, if you're listening or catching the replay, is pick the main topic that you want to cover that week, or the main purpose of that piece of content, and figure out how can you spread that either throughout the week or throughout the month. Because repurposing content does not mean just copy paste everywhere.
No,
it's doing it with intention. So I like to do a video, and it might be a 2-3 minute long video, and then I can I can cut that up and do an Instagram story, or do a story saying basically the same thing in summary. I can create a reel. Maybe I even put that onto YouTube and then embed it into my blog and then link to it from Pinterest. So there's a lot of ways that we can, which those things, I think when I say them out loud, it sounds like I just added 10 more things on your to-do list, right? But they don't all need to be done at once. And if you could do one thing one time, and that could create 6 other pieces of content, that's 6 other pieces of content that you don't have to create from scratch.
Yes. I want to add something onto that.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people get tied up in like blocking time, and they're like, okay, well, I blocked this time out for this, so I need to do that. But that is not a good way to be efficient. So what I tend to do, and just kind of coming back to your content, how, like, when are you feeling most motivated to write content, etc. So like when I'm batching off my time, I know I have all my meetings always stacked, so there's no spaces between them, and I have to go back to back. And then I have time, and I don't allow myself to check anything in between, no emails, nothing. And then I have time scheduled at the end to do all my charting for patients. And then I'll have like 3 to 4 hours at the end of the day or beginning of the day. And that's when it's kind of my week task. So it's like, okay, if I need to make videos, if I need to write content, if I need to brain dump, I don't put it so that, okay, Tuesday, I need to write this content. It's like, okay, in one of these blocks throughout the week, I need to do that. So then again, it's like, when am I feeling the most motivated? Because some days you're going to go show up to your computer and not be motivated. And if you're not, and you're sitting there trying to write content, you're going to waste a ton of time. So if you're not feeling motivated, if you sit there for 5 minutes and you're not doing anything, then you need to switch to something you are going to be motivated to do. And that's where that like list comes in handy, because it's like, okay, actually, I do feel like getting my emails done, which, I mean, that doesn't come off very often. But if you do, then if you're really motivated and really focused, then you can just bang out a whole bunch of emails and get way more done in that time when you're feeling really motivated to do that, than kind of being too strict with your time. I think people are often a bit too strict with their time sometimes.
I pulled up my calendar. I'm looking at it on my computer because I do have like blocks for content creation on Monday morning, on Tuesday morning, and then I have creative time blocked on Friday. But I kind of am laughing at myself now that I've got like creative time blocked from 3 to 4:15 on Mondays. Yes. You know, I'm not necessarily going to feel the most creative there. So what you're saying is you build in time to like the get shit done time, and whether you're in a creative space or whether you're in more of an admin space, maybe that's just, you use that block of time to do the to-do list.
Yeah, totally. I basically block it like in my business, working in my business, working on my business, in my business, on my business. And that's kind of how I block it throughout the day. And that way it gives me some flexibility to do what I'm feeling most like doing in that moment. And like, sometimes you do got to push and shove, right? So at the beginning of or I should say, it's usually kind of the end, like the last week of my month is when I do all of my content planning for the entire next month, do all of my writing for the entire next month, do all the videos for the entire next month. But instead of being really kind of strict with that, I know that's on my month to-do list. So if I'm sitting down and it's the second week of the month and I'm like, you know what, I really feel like motivated to bring up a bunch of content, then I'll do it at that time and just kind of, you know, and just keep it open and shift. Like if I had to do emails, let's say, but they weren't urgent, then I can just do that later on in the week. Like whatever your energy is feeling the most like doing is what you should be doing. So you're going to get a lot more stuff done.
Okay. I'm going to try that this coming week. Okay. So I know we have
it's hard because you have to still be disciplined, but it will. And it's something that I learned just from being in school and like sitting there studying for literally, I get up at 6 a.m., study till 9, go to school from 9 to 5, and then have patients in the evening from like 6 to like 9, and then come home and study till like 11 and redo the whole cycle. And I was like, you got to be really efficient. And that came from me like staring at the computer for so long and not getting things done. And it's like, okay, when am I the most efficient? Like I'm not a morning person, but I am most efficient in the morning. So I get up earlier so I could get a bunch of stuff done, and then I could get the same amount I could get done in 4 hours in the evening. I get done 1 hour in the morning. So again, it's really about experimenting, seeing what works best for you. But try not to switch between tasks, but if you are stuck in a task and it's not moving the needle and you're just feeling not motivated, switch to something that you do feel like doing.
So good. Okay, I want to make sure we leave time for any questions. If people have questions about like content repurposing, calendar blocking, when you're most creative. I know as women too, I'm sure we could do an entire, I would ask you questions, an entire live on like cycle syncing and tracking and things like that. So if anybody has questions, or if you're watching the replay and you have questions, feel free to comment on this too, and I can ping Amanda if there's any for her. But
totally, or feel free to reach out to either of us in the DMs.
Yes. So if I am, I think one of the things I want to touch on briefly, because I know we only have a little bit of time left, but I find that launching, for at least my clients, when they think about launching, they're in launch mode. That is one of the busiest times. And even if you're not in launch mode, but you're in the mode of pre-launch, when you have to prep all your content, I find pre-launch is way more stressful than actual launch because you're getting so much done.
Yeah.
And I know you've launched your programs before and you've launched a few other things. Do you have any pieces of advice? I'd love to just see how they line up here too.
Yes.
Like pieces of advice for clients that are, say, getting ready to launch a new product or service in their business.
Yes. So, I mean, the kind of number one thing is the busier you are, the more breaks you need, which seems counterintuitive, but when I'm in launch phase, I am scheduling way more breaks throughout the day than I normally do, just because I know my body needs that rest. If you're not taking breaks, you're not going to show up fully as your most excited self, as your most rested self, and that's what you need to be selling things, right? But really it's about, again, what do you absolutely need to do and what can you outsource? Because the biggest, people are always like, oh, outsourcing is expensive and I can't outsource. And of course it does cost money, but if you think about it in terms of your time, so if you're charging, let's say, $200 an hour, but you pay someone, $30 or $35 an hour to do what you're trying to do, that saves you a lot of money in the end, and like in the long run. So what do you absolutely need to do? So for launches, a lot of people, it's like, I need to show up face to cam. I need to be interacting with people in the DMs, etc. I like writing. I write some of my content. I don't write all of it, but there's certain things that I do like writing. Like reels, like all of those things that I actually have to do myself, I do. Everything else I outsource. So and that's and actually working with you would be great because you probably have a whole launch plan for people. And this is what I do with clients too. It's like, have the launch all planned out. Someone else has written the plan for you, so you don't have to do that. Yeah. Have all of the content kind of planned out. And then you can go in and you can brain dump and do it really efficiently, like I said, when you're feeling energetically aligned with that. Or you could outsource a lot of it. But outsource as much as you can, that you don't actually have to show up. Because if you are doing all the behind the scenes plus showing up, you're not going to show up as present and fully.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, 100% agree with that. And we think about, like, I think there's something important to say here too, that there's this idea that you have to show up perfect. You have to show up as your highest self. You have to show up in that high vibe. And that is a really good way to be able to show up as when you're in a launch. But I also think there's something to be said that, like, we're all human beings and we're all real people. And it's okay if you can't show up every single day, and, don't fake it till you make it. I think if anything, what I take away from this conversation too is, if you aren't in that energetic space to be able to show up and be excited and have that energy and that determination and that conviction in what you are selling or launching, like that's a good sign that you need to take a step and rest. Yes. And I think that is what I asked you in the beginning, for somebody who might feel like if they slow down, they won't succeed. What are things that they can do? I think that is one of the biggest CEO moves that I've learned and try to encourage my clients. In fact, yesterday, one of the girls in AMA said to me, I laid in bed for 7 hours today because I didn't feel good. And I'm proud of myself, because a year ago I would have pushed through and I didn't fall into those unhealthy habits again. Like, I know that my business will be here. My marketing's good. Like, I can take a day and rest. Yeah. But yeah, I think your point of like, build in that rest so that you can show up. And if you don't feel like you can show up in that high vibe, you don't need to. Like, nothing bad is going to happen. No. And like, that's why I like batching my content too, because and same for launches. Like, I batch all my videos because some days I wake up and I'm like, I feel like recording a bunch of videos, and other days I don't. So I'm not going to record videos on the days I don't, because people are going to feel that, right? So just like, record on the days you're feeling good. You could, like, if you show up and you're not feeling good, like, just be honest about it. Like, you know what, like, I kind of had a crappy sleep, but I'm here anyways for you, etc. There's something else that came up that I know. With taking time, this is one thing I see all the time in clinic, and I'm like, so passionate about it, but you need to stop and take the time. Anytime I hear people say, I have too much going on, I can't take time, it's like, that is your body telling you need to take time. Because unfortunately, I often see patients that come in that are burnt out, overwhelmed, they've been put on stress leave. So eventually your body's going to force you to stop if you don't stop. So that story that you just said of her taking 7 hours to sleep, I mean, her body clearly needed that. So it's good. You have to listen to those signs. Otherwise, something not good is going to happen. Yeah. Well, okay. We'll wrap it here, but tell everybody who's listening and people who are watching the replay, like, how can they work with you? What do you have going on? How can they connect with you? You are just a wealth of knowledge. And even if they're like, I got marketing down on pat, you still need help with your schedule and efficiency and all those things. So totally fill us in. Yeah, so I have multiple businesses, and I mean, I've owned a business for almost 4 years now, multiple businesses. So I have a lot of experience with running a business, a lot of experience with outsourcing, a lot of experience with being really efficient with your time and being able to have multiple businesses while still, like, I'm gonna go for a hike this afternoon while still having free time, right? So I love helping people really
get their like shit organized and outsource and find the right team, and really kind of maximize efficiency. And I do it very similar to how I work with patients in clinic. Like, it's very, very personalized. We spend a long time figuring out what is going to work the best for you and making it manageable. Because I know, like, even in this little thing, we gave out so much advice, but it's like, you can't take it all and run with it all. Like, it's got to be something that works for you. So it's really, I really work with business owners to figure out what works for them. If you are in British Columbia, I also help business owners with more of that kind of health aspect. So actually working physically on the burnout. I cannot do that if you're not in BC. And I also love supporting people with obviously my supplements, so Live and Naturals. I have a complete calm stress product there, which is so awesome if you're feeling, that product's really specifically for people feeling overwhelmed and anxious before you get to that burnout stage. So that is for that. But yeah, and why don't you tell us a bit about you, Liz, and how we can work with you?
Yeah, well, I love what you said about, like, hey, if you're in BC, I can work on you, but if you're not, I can still help you with getting efficient. And you said,
Yes.
you know, this is the thing too, for marketing strategy and for brand strategy. Basically, what all that fancy stuff means is you're just trying to get visible in front of your ideal client. And I wholeheartedly agree. You can Google your way to figuring out how you can run your business. You can Google your way to figuring out how to avoid burnout and stress.
Yeah.
But the strategies are out there. We are not giving out super secrets that nobody's ever heard before.
Yeah.
But there is a difference when you have that accountability and that mentorship and that partnership to figure out the specific, you said everybody is different, the specific situation, the specific business. So for me, while I cannot do anything to help you with, you know, your hormones, I can. Well, kind of. I take that back. If I can help you be more efficient in your marketing and attract people, the high-paying clients to you, and help you feel more clear and confident when you show up on video and in your marketing direction, that in turn makes you feel less stressed, which lowers your cortisols, which helps your hormones. So
exactly.
Basically, I'm Amanda in Michigan. But yes, so for those who are like, oh my gosh, Liz, like, I just want to shut my phone off and put my laptop away and spend time with my family and work on my businesses instead of always in it. The best way to work with me is through the Attraction and Marketing Accelerator, which starts next month. I also have a digital course. Yeah, I also have a digital course for people that are like, just teach me how to do video. That's what I need help with. And then I have an agency for those that are like, don't tell me anything, just do it. Like, just do the
You're like, oh
design.
man, you have so many businesses, and then you're like, I have this and this.
Yeah. Well, the main ways, you know, it's like either coaching or agency. And then I do have a digital course that is a year old this month.
Wow,
So yeah.
Amazing.
So that's me. But again, if anybody tuning in live or in the replay, if you have questions about avoiding burnout, becoming efficient, marketing, content creation, or just want to lean on a business bestie that has been there and can help you, reach out to Amanda, reach out to me. As you can see in this live, we're both real live, very friendly people. So
that's right. We don't fight.
We might chew your ear off, as I said earlier.
Oh, so nice to chat, Liz.
You too. Thanks for taking the time, and I'll talk to you on Boxer, I'm sure.
Sounds great. Yeah, exactly. Okay, take care.
Right,
bye.
bye.
Thank you.